Hey guys, it's Dr. Nelson, the professor you never see. We're getting close to the end of the semester. We only got a little over a week. It's Monday, 28th of November. I just finally got all your paper grades in. I know I'm notoriously slow to grade papers. Actually, the longer I take, the better it is because I grade lighter. So never complain that it's taking forever. I did want to give some comments about writing papers. You have one more due. But also, I mean, it is part of my job. And I do actually think writing is one of the most important things you're going to learn in college. Most of you are not history majors. So even though I love history, think it's important, I know you're probably never going to use it in your careers, but writing you will. So I do want to talk about writing a little bit. And I like talking about writing. So let me go ahead and give you a couple of pointers, not just for your next paper, and even if you've already written it, because I know a few of you have turned it in already, you can still go back and re-upload it. But really for other classes. This is not just for me. This is for all the classes you take. And a lot of you are in high school still. I think like 2/3 of you are still high school students. Just know when you get to college, it's expected that you know how to write. And most of you are not bad, but I can see a lot of bad habits that you need to get out of before you go on further into college. So anyway, let me give you a couple of bits of advice. If you look at your comments, I didn't make comments on all the papers, but most of them I did. You may notice that I tend to focus on your title and your opening paragraph and a little bit on your last paragraph. Even though I read the whole paper, that's mostly what I focus on. And you may also notice, a couple of you, that I really do read the papers, and I'm actually reading and making sure that things make sense, because a lot of you make these really grand statements. This is the most important thing that's ever happened. And you don't really mean it. You're just trying to make your paper sound really important. And I'm like, really? You sure it's the most important thing? To be very careful of overstating things, making huge, grand statements. In fact, I call them beauty pageant statements. I know nobody watches beauty pageants anymore, and I think they don't even call them that anymore. But like Miss America, Miss USA, all that, they always have it where they come out and evening wear, swimwear. They do a talent, and there's always a little interview part. And it used to always be a joke, because they would always be like, "Why do you want to be Miss America?" And they would say, "Because I want to travel the country and I want to feed starving children." And it's like, that has nothing to do with being Miss America. And that's what I call a beauty pageant statement, a statement that goes way beyond the reality. And when people write, especially students, they tend to want to sound really, really important. So they either begin or end with really big, grand statements that have nothing to do with the paper and really have nothing to do with their argument or their thesis. And especially when people are writing American history. When I teach world history, people don't do this as much, but they always feel this need to be like, and America is the greatest country ever, and these are amazing people, and I'm so proud to be an American. And that's all fine in your own private life, but that has nothing to do with the paper. So don't do that. Don't begin or end the paper with a big, giant statement. I mean, somebody wrote like, "This is the land that I love." And I'm like, that's fine, but it doesn't belong in the paper. So just keep it toned down. Just talk plain. Just get to the point, move on. Okay. So the main thing I'm concerned about is that opening paragraph and making sure that you have a clear argument, a clear thesis. Nobody uses the word thesis in real life. A thesis is just an argument. You're making a statement, and you're going to prove that statement, because if I say Lincoln was a great president, that's an argument, because you could say Lincoln's a terrible president. So I have to provide evidence for that stance. And that's what you're doing in any paper that you write. Even if you're writing an email to your boss saying, "I deserve a raise," you're going to provide evidence why you need that raise. Or you guys do it to me. I need extra time on this paper because my grandmother is sick and my computer didn't work and the internet went out. Therefore, can I turn my paper in late? You're making an argument and you're providing evidence. That's what a paper is. So make sure that you have a clear argument before you start writing. In other words, if you don't know what it is you're arguing, how can you write a paper? And I would say about 95% of you were writing a paper, but you didn't have an argument, at least not till the last paragraph. Sometimes you guys figured it out by the end, but then it's too late. So you need to have something before you start writing, because everything in that paper is about that argument in the first paragraph. So if you can get that right, you're going to be a great writer. So the way I think about it, imagine you're a lawyer. So, I mean, because that's really what you do. I know most of you probably haven't been on a jury yet, but I'm sure you've seen TV and movies. So if you think about a courtroom, so you have somebody accused of a crime, and then you have the prosecuting lawyer that's arguing this person's guilty. Then you have the defense lawyer who is arguing to the jury that the person is innocent. And they both have to provide evidence. They have an opening argument. They have the evidence, and then they have a concluding argument. And then the jury, who's like the reader, they decide, right, if they prove their point or not. So imagine you're accused of murder, and I'm your defense lawyer. And I get up and say, I love this country. And I hate murder. Murder is terrible. And I'm going to talk about murder today. And we're going to talk about this person accused of murder. This is a really important topic. And I'm going to give you many reasons on this topic. And I'm going to talk a lot about this topic. Okay, bye. First off, you should fire me. 2, you're going to the electric chair because you're going to be found guilty. What you want me to say is, hi, my client is accused of murder by the prosecuting attorney. This is incorrect. In fact, my client is completely innocent of this charge. We know that the fingerprints don't match, the DNA doesn't match, and I have video evidence that my client was somewhere else when the murder took place. Therefore, I am going to prove to you that my client is completely innocent. Thank you. So now it's obvious what I'm arguing, and I've even told you how I'm going to argue it. That's what you should do in your opening paragraph. You can be a little creative, but in the end, you're making a statement, your thesis, and you even need to say, I mean, you can do it all in one sentence, but you need to say how you're going to prove your argument. I should read your opening paragraph and know exactly what you're saying. We don't care about spoilers. You put it all up front. And then you, over the next few paragraphs, you provide the actual evidence. And then you conclude it by saying, see, I told you, without saying that, but see, I told you, blah, 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 blah. So if you can think about a paper in that way, to me, this is like cracking the code. Once I learned how to do this, I realized papers were really easy, but you got to do a little bit of prep work. I mean, you actually got to do some research, and you have to know what you're actually saying. Then it's actually really easy. So when I write, I know you probably can't actually see this piece of paper, but I literally do this when I write. I've written a book. I'm working on a second book. I've written a lot of articles. I write conference papers. I do this every time. I literally just jot down a thesis, and maybe it's I grew up loving Star Wars, so maybe I would say Star Wars is the coolest movie ever, and I literally would write that down. See, Star Wars, coolest movie ever, and then I think about, well, why is that? And maybe it's, Darth Vader is a great villain. I don't know, half of you have even seen Star Wars. I had a crush on Leia, and 3 had great special effects. So see, so when I write it, I'm going to write one paragraph talking about how great Star Wars is. In May of 1977, a new movie came out, written and directed by George Lucas. It changed cinema forever, and it's still ongoing to this day. I am going to show you by talking about special effects, by talking about characters, and talking about villains. I'm going to prove to you that Star Wars is the greatest film ever. And then one paragraph will be about Darth Vader, one paragraph will be about Leia, one paragraph will be about the special effects, and then I'll just say, see, I told you. I mean, that's a dumb paper, but that's really what you need to do. And it can just be something like that. But before you write, plot it out. I mean, it might take you 5 minutes. And that way, when you write, you know what you're doing. You have a little plot there. That's it. That's how you write a paper. It's that simple. Everything you write, you need to do that. A couple other quick things. I know a lot of you probably already tuned out at this point. Have a good title. I'm nuts about this. You should always have a title to everything you write, and it shouldn't just be American Revolution. Like, I wouldn't call this Star Wars. That's your topic. I think like half of you, literally, your topic was American Revolution. Your title should literally reflect what your paper is about. And then you should try to be a little creative. The title is what should make the reader want to actually read your paper, right? So be careful. So make sure that you do that. Two, on that, I lost my train of thought. At the end, make sure, that again, you do indeed conclude the argument and don't start bringing in these beauty pageant statements and all that. Just be very upfront about it. Real quick, I know most of you, I think, know to do this, but always double space. I mean, it's a simple thing. I didn't count off for anybody on that, but just make sure you double space. It just makes it easier to read. And most of you didn't do this, but try not to refer too much to yourself. The paper's not about you, so try to stay away from. Again, try always talking about I, me. Try to get yourself out of the paper a little bit. Okay, that's enough, and hopefully this helps a little bit on your second paper, and also maybe it helps you in other classes as well. Because I feel like in a way, nobody ever really talks about how to write, and it's really not that hard. Okay, good luck, everybody, and I'll see you guys online.